Welcome, podcast listeners, people who recycle, those who are out there walking your dog. Maybe you're in traffic, drinking your coffee, wherever you are tuned in to Life and In Between. My name is Patrick Pacman Perez, joined by the wonderful Diana Gonzalez. And we are here today because we have a message to share with you. It's a little different. You got to move and groove with whatever rhythm comes along. And today our guest actually wasn't able to make it. So here we are, instead of just staring at each other, we decided today's program is going to be about just keep on going. Because sometimes in the rhythm of life, all you can do is just keep on moving forward. Don't make excuses, make progress. And both Diana and myself are kind of in the in between on a lot of things, from jobs to podcast building to trying to save the schools. So we're in this in between phase and we want to kind of unpack this today because we are just like you. We just have these really cool little backgrounds that Diana made, and we are just two people from Dallas and Austin, two separate worlds because we make fun of Dallas. We actually used to have billboards that said, "Don't Dallas my Austin." So we're going to jump into this today, that life in between, because we are right there with y'all in this crazy year of 2025 where the motto is just stay alive. So, hi, how are you today?
Oh, well, thank you so much. Okay, so even though we're on opposing teams and I am in Dallas and you're in Austin, you see how two people can work together?
Yeah,
I
I can
mean,
work
so
together.
that's a great sign that our world needs to actually work together. So what I wanted to actually really what I want to start unpacking is you got some really exciting stuff happening. So I know that right now Austin is going through some shutdowns of the schools. We talked about it in our previous podcast. And I know that right now that you were mentioning to me earlier that you are actually having an upcoming interview, and there's some things going on and brewing in Austin. Can you kind of update us and our listeners what's going on?
Yeah. So apparently it's not just an Austin thing, because I've actually had people from El Paso reaching out, former clients who are involved in the schools out there, saying that they're also having school closures. So this is a bigger thing because where does all the money go? That's a lot of people are asking. So here in Austin, we are slated to shut down, I think, 13 campuses, but the district just pumped money into a lot of our schools, including my son's, to fix them up, renovate them, make them look nice. And now they're going to scratch them. Some of them are going to close, others will be consolidated. And so we had a meeting last week. This was at the district offices. We had a protest in the beginning, which, we went a little viral because they kind of kicked us off the property. So we're out there by the freeway, just like, you can't do this. Ah. And then after that, we had 60 plus people sign up to speak to the board of trustees as well as the superintendent. And this is where you saw we're all in the same battle, save our schools, but the reasons are so different. This I actually messaged a friend of mine, and I told her I've never seen soccer moms in action, and we had soccer moms like just giving it to the district. So two or three of the schools are very affluent schools, the dual language, historic buildings. The parents get up to the microphone and I'm in architecture, I'm a doctor. And then our campus, where we had only 6 people show up because all the parents work 2 to 3 jobs, puro Mexicanos,
Right.
immigrant families who have to work. And so they can't go to these meetings. And so we had these two different worlds at this meeting, all fighting for the same thing, but for different
Mm.
reasons. Some of those schools are getting closed because they will sell for a pretty penny because they're closer to downtown. Other schools are going to close because of the TEA failure, the STAR test failing grades. And that's where my son's campus comes in, where they had 3 years of failing grades, which is weird because it's only the sixth graders who I guess were failing. And it's in sixth grade that the STAR test is not offered in Spanish. So up until the fifth grade, they can take it in Spanish, and then hit sixth grade, boom. That's where a lot of the drama started happening. And so we went to this meeting, screamed, yelled. A lot of people are saying now, though, It's too little, too late. What we're doing today is interviewing again on the media. There's a board of trustees meeting at our campus, a virtual one. But now what we're trying to do is just tell them slow down. They gave us like 30 days to, okay, I guess you're closing the schools, instead of giving us options. They're supposed to give us options. Oh, we could do this. We could get a nonprofit to come take over the school or partner with the school. Instead, they're like, nope, we're selling and closing, which that's where all the pushback is coming. And so now we're fighting just, I think there's a website called Let's Do Better AISD, where it's like just slow it down, give us a year to get options instead of 30 days putting it to vote in November. So that's what we're fighting, trying to delay it, try to push it back. Like, take a breath, people. Let us look at this instead of just chop, chop, chop.
Wow. So just to understand, and so that our audience understands, and because you unpacked a lot. I mean, this is a
It's a
lot of
lot.
good.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So we have all these schools that are closing down for different reasons, you know. But one thing, the common theme is these schools are being shut down, and
Mm-hmm.
parents are outraged and they don't want this. So it could be for whether for testing or because of their it's more profitable to sell it, as you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. So how long I mean, are they just going to shut it down immediately, like 30 days? They're not going to give you like to the end of the school year? I mean, is it like an
So they'll
immediate?
finish out. Yeah, they get to finish out
Okay.
the school year. What they say is all the teachers who are laid off will then get to reapply for jobs, but they'll have preference. But then you start thinking like schools can only have one principal. There's not going to be two principals. And our principal, Mr. Fazbanda, he's amazing. He's wonderful. The kids love him. He loves what he does, and he kind of walked into this. I think he's newer, so this was stuff that predated him. And the big thing, so I'm going to give both sides. We could like to be equal here on our podcast.
Absolutely. Yes.
So what the district is saying is, look, we're in a deficit. Austin ISD is in a $13 million deficit. We don't have the enrollment, and this is the thing for all of Texas. A lot of schools don't have the enrollment numbers that they used to have. A lot here in Austin, families have been priced out, because it's so expensive to live here. So black and brown families move further away to other districts. Or what's happened is charter schools. A lot of charter schools, kids go to those schools instead. The way funding happens for schools, it's per student. So each student, you have one student at the campus, I think they get like $6,000 per student. So the more students you have, the more funding. A lot of the campuses here are 4 or 5 kids sometimes in a class for pre-K or kindergarten, first grade. So instead of spreading the money like we have, because Austin ISD, Austin is the wealthiest tax rich, property rich area in the state. Dallas, Houston, San Antonio are bigger cities, and I think they give about 200, maybe $300 million to the state in recapture. So your property taxes that you pay, like a fourth of that or half of that goes to the state. Austin, last year we did about 700 million, almost $1 billion from our taxes go up the channels, and it's redistributed to other districts, which we're like, wait, but our schools are suffering. Why are we giving money away? So it's not just a parent thing, it's a property owner thing. It's an inequitable treatment of black and brown families. So it affects so many people on so many different areas. And that's why we're trying to get the word out there, because the more people that make us think about this, the more something can be done. We can slow down the process, push this back till next year to get better options instead of closing, because if they close, they're going to save money for now.
Wow. Wow. I mean, so it's so as we begin to uncover and dig deeper, because I know the last podcast we talked about find out where the money is going. We're
Follow the money.
seeing follow the money, follow the
Hmm.
money. So this is a lot. So just kind of I know that you initially you were telling me jokingly back a conversation that we were having that you said that you didn't want to really become the spokesperson because you want to give others the opportunity kind of to step in
Hmm.
and speak. So it looks like you are becoming the spokesperson of,
Hmm. I just
of
got a text this morning from CBS, like, hey, the reporter that did a story on me, what, a week ago. Hey, can we do another story? Which I get it. It's That's actually what helped me with my clients is that you become reliable enough, they just keep coming back to you. But I want the other voices. I want the families who don't even speak English. That's the voice that we need to hear from, because a lot of them, they don't know what's going on because all of our marketing is in English. A lot of the news stories in English. And I'll even say that we had two parents come to the protest, and we got them in front of the media, but then they didn't want to talk. So there's a lot of fear right now, especially with the ICE raids, all the immigration stuff. So there's a lot of fear, and that is nothing other than power punching down, which is really messed up. So in that case, yes, I'm stepping forward. I will be a voice, but I do have two other parents joining us today on our news report. And that's the thing. There's strength in numbers, but there's also strength in diversity, getting different points of view,
Yes.
getting different input from people, because this is the best way to summarize where we live is it's the it's the intersection of where Teslas and roosters meet. So out of our neighborhood come the Teslas and the Mercedes, and then right outside of our gates we have the roosters, the chickens in the yards. So it's that perfect intersection, and it's like, yes, my lived experience is not the same as all the
Yes.
other like puro Mexicanos. And so my
Mhm.
voice, that's one reason I want to get more voices, because hey guys, I'm Patrick. But we want to hear from those whose voices truly matter.
Right.
And
And
I know we'll be okay no matter what happens. We're going to be okay. But there are families who can't make the drive another mile down the road because they will have to take public transportation. They can't walk. And so these are the stories, the voices that need to be elevated and empowered. I'm using that in the interview.
absolutely.
That's a good one.
I love that. I love that the fact that you're actually really engaging. And aside from because I know we're both living our in-between moments and all that, and I know aside from being the spokesperson for your community right now and really fighting to try to keep these schools open, can you kind of fill us in on some other stuff that are going on
Yeah, and
in
and then I'm going to turn it on you because I know you've got a
okay.
lot of things too. So this is the weird in between. This is the in between of an entrepreneur. So this is going in so many different realms. So I have a friend who's got a great paying job, but he's starting his entrepreneur journey and he's in his 40s. And I'm like, dude, entrepreneur life is different. You don't get the steady paycheck. You're going to work 16, 17-hour days. There's a reason a lot of entrepreneurs who start young don't have relationships, especially with speakers who travel all the time. And so I'm very aware that people out there are having their side hustles. You're starting something because the economy is kaput. It's kaput. Even in the entrepreneur life, we had a friend, one of my wife's friends, who was a content creator and made six figures. All of that went bottoms up when the tariffs hit, because all the products that she was selling went bottoms up. So in our journey, this is interesting. Both my wife and I are actively looking for jobs. I applied yesterday to a engagement specialist for the county, which would be really cool. It's like, you're
Ooh.
building and you're connecting with people, you're keeping people informed of what's going on in the city. It's a very person to person. So like me, yeah, yeah. But I still have, both my wife and I still have clients in the speaking world. Clients that we've worked with for 10 plus years who book us every year. So that is the in between. It's like we're applying for jobs to make it through this very devastating, financially crushing year, but we can't take a full-time job just yet because we still have clients that we've worked with for years who pay a pretty penny for that week, but that week won't pay for the rest of the year
Right.
yet. Yet, now that now that I'm still restructuring more for the corporate audiences. And so that's kind of the weird in between is we we have enough to get by, but it's not enough to thrive. But we can't go get those jobs that will help us thrive because we still have these other ones that are helping us get by. So it's this weird little in between phase that we're in. And even with our rental properties, here in Austin, we used to rent out one of our rentals for like 1,600 a month. and now the average rent's maybe 1100, 1200, which doesn't even cover the mortgage. And so now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're having to cover another mortgage payment. Yeah. So it's a lot. It's in the back of my head a lot of this, and I want to kind of pick your brain on this too. It's like I'm kind of having to live out more of what I've been preaching for so many years. You adapt and you survive, you connect with others and you thrive, the mindset community. And it's like it's working, it's keeping us abreast, but also everybody else is in that same kind of pocket unless they found a job. And that's one reason that the guest we are going to have today, Valerie, I was like, wait, we could talk to her about the job situations, but you're kind of in the same, and I want to kind of brag on you a little bit for our listeners. So this is our founder, our guru. Diana is the one that started this podcast as kind of her way of answering back to this season of job loss. The DEI cuts affected so many people, and you know people who are doing great things like you. And so when that happened, instead of mourning, which you did mourn, you did grieve, you decided to do something different and you pulled yourself out by making a podcast. And that podcast is actually kind of now helping you in the job sector, the interview processes. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happened there?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I love the fact that starting this podcast initially was started off for more like a self-healing and helping others.
Mm,
It was more like a platform to let others know that you're not going through this journey by yourself, and that everyone goes through an in-between moment, whether it's job loss, whether it's the loss of someone that they love, but we all go through our in-between phase. So that was the initial thing. And so, but as much as I love it, it's not paying the bills. So
awareness.
I know the money, the cheese is not coming in the bread. So I started, I've been, sending out for jobs, and and one thing I just started to do something differently is to include my podcast in the job resume description, that it is currently something that I'm doing, and because they look at the gap periods. So I started looking at what is it that I'm doing, and I actually started building skill sets on doing this podcast, and I added those skill sets. As a result, in one of my sending out my resume, it wind up catching the attention of a recruiter, and kind of just
Mm,
said, pulled me in and said, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit more about this. And so he talked about my past work experience and all that, and asked me, what are you currently doing right now? I see that you're doing a podcast. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And so as I started diving into it and started telling him about it, um, he said, I love the fact that you took a difficult situation and you did something positive, and you're growing your skill sets. And part of the job description that it entailed was um, what the podcast entails, like helping build content, work with AI.
mm,
It also is um, writing. And so as I told him, what I was doing, he was really intrigued, and he actually commended the fact that I did this podcast and told me, regardless, I'm going to move you to the next phase number two, and all that. And I was like, yeah.
that is
And
so cool.
so I said, okay, great. And then he just said, whatever the end result is, um, just continue doing what you're doing, And I was like, wow, I love that.
Hmm.
And so little did I know that this podcast, on my second interview, which was the hiring manager, um, would go well because we talked about the podcast as well. And it was like, okay, he found it very intriguing, very, it helped with the communication skills, being able to interact with others, the engagement, and how to the fact that he said that, again, very similar to what the recruiter said, was you took a very difficult period, a difficult period in your life, a moment, and you actually turned it into something positive,
Mm,
which, instead of, and he goes on, I'm sure you mourned, And I'm sure that you were, you were sad about your loss in your job role, and you went through the phase, but it didn't stop you. You went ahead and you empowered yourself. And so, which led me to, he says, we're looking into moving to the next phase. So I was
Whoa.
like, whoa, okay. So that's where I'm at. So that's my in between moment. So, and I think initially, when we found out that our guest couldn't join us, I told Patrick, let's share our in between moments, because right now I know that there's someone listening to this and is finding themselves like, what am I going to do? I am in between my job loss. I need to make some money. I need to do something. In the process of you going through this journey, find something that will help you network with others and help you heal. And you can use that as a part of your resume when you're in there, that gap period. Because I think, employers want to hear, how do you deal with difficult situations?
Mm,
How do you
mhm.
overcome when you're facing and confronting a difficult situation? And how do you manage it? Because at work, you are going to encounter some difficult situations. And how do you manage it? And so your character shines at that moment when life throws you lemons. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, literally. So it's at that point when you're questioning, what am I going to do next? Find something that you can put on your resume and show the skills that you are developing and the skills that you have, and it shows that you're able to overcome any type of obstacles, no matter what.
Oh,
So
mic drop. Drop the mic right there.
yes.
And let me ask this. So are you putting the podcast on your resume or like just in your cover letter? How are they finding this out?
I am putting it precisely I put it on my resume as a present job.
Mm, 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 mm.
So I actually put it right there from March, from the time that I was um, started creating it, March till present day. And then I put down everything that I'm doing it. So I put it as founder, co-host, and producer.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so when they look, and I'm like, you're more than welcome to look at it, and you can, and they'll see the work that I'm showcasing, how I am able to do, how I'm able to use these skill sets. I tell them I build a website. I'm constantly trying to perfect it, and so they're able firsthand, that is a draft of my work. They
See,
can
and I
see the
think that's the
draft of.
coolest part. Because I've been in a whole nother entrepreneur world, I don't do a lot with the interviews, but one thing I remember a trainer telling us was, don't tell them what you're going to do. If you hire me, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Tell them, show them what you've already done. And you have this entity now, this force that can outlive you. We could, just vanish. Jason could come back and take over. And there's always someone that can carry the life and in between. So it's something that surpasses us. It gives a platform for others. And I think because you were saying that you learned about using AI, you're using Adobe, Canva, all these things that are now pushing you into what all the young kids are using because that's where technology is.
Exactly. And it really is. And it's actually developing that those creative skills. And also the one thing that also people um like, for example, I've come to realize, and I shared that with this network group that I go to. Um you with the podcast, it is such a great way to opening the door to speaking with incredible people that normally you would never speak with,
Mm-hmm.
because you're able to reach out to people outside of the norm. You can say, hey, this is a platform. Would you love to be a guest? And then you begin to develop those relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way of developing and making new friendships. People will remember and they'll resonate. You have that shared thing. You've been on my show. And if they're also podcast, if they also have a podcast out there, um, to sharpen, to be on the other side instead of being the interviewer, to
Mm-hmm.
be to be a guest, so there are ways of and you got to find that thing, because podcasting will not be for everyone. It would happen to be great for us because you're in the speaking world and all that. And so the premise is continue to sharpen and learn new skills and let not allow your skills to die out, because when you're on that interview, I wasn't expecting that. They were like amazed, like, wow, you
Hmm,
are still doing things, and yes, part of being without a job is working on those resumes and resume building and doing the network. But the podcast is just an added on flavor of
exactly.
that shows who I am. So I encourage others, find some kind of activity, something to do. Whether it's like there's a South Lake group that I attend, and so some of the people volunteer their time to develop workshops for there's a networking event. They develop workshops for people that are attend, and they do this on their volunteer time. But right there and then, they're building their training ability
Hmm.
skills to become a trainer. So even though, so volunteer time, all these things that you do, that's another thing added onto your resume that you can showcase. Like, I'm not even getting paid for this. And they know it's your passion. Like when you tell them, I'm not getting paid for this, and like, wow, and this is your passion. Imagine if you got paid, what more would you bring
Hmm.
to it?
Hmm.
You know?
And that,
So
and
yeah.
I want to boast on you a little bit too, because for those of you out there who have never done a podcast, it's a lot of work. I've had several friends who launch podcasts and they get one, two episodes in and they start seeing, oh, the editing, creating thumbnails, uploading, writing the content. If you put music in there, it's a lot of work. And so once people start seeing that, the numbers kind of drop off. And so the fact that I think we had this is like 17, 18,
22.
22. We're at 22 now. And 50, 50, that is nifty. That's like, I want to see what it's like when we get to 50, because we all start somewhere, but so many people stop as soon as it doesn't pan out. It's like, I'm not making money, or we only have 10 views. But you keep going. One of the authors that my wife reads, and I don't know the name, but she was saying that sometimes it's not a waste because it's kind of like the mulch, the fodder around a tree. That you need all of this, and it just keeps getting better and better, and then the tree starts to grow. Then you start to water it, and then eventually, yeah, you'll get the fruit. And whether the fruit is monetizing it or getting a job because of what you're doing, it's it's creating it's creating more opportunity for yourself. And I think for our listeners out there, that's one thing to look into. I'm gonna throw my brother out there too. He doesn't like he's kind of the don't talk about me anywhere. So he was in IT, and IT was one of those industries that is dead. AI just took a lot of that. So in his in between, I think he went through 100 plus applications, interviews, all of that. I helped him launch what was the Bastrop IT Nerd, which a little town he lives in, there's only two other companies that worked on computers, phones, and all that. So I told him, like, why don't you create a little niche? You'll be different because you'll be mobile. Everybody else was brick and mortar. You could be mobile. And sure enough, he started getting like a charter school, reached out to him. Hey, we have all these laptops that we can't fix. Boom, his first big client, and it looked legit. So on his resume, he puts that. He can show, like, here's my invoices. And what he started doing was, instead of saying, yeah, this was something that I started, it was just like, no, it's a company that I worked for, kind of like a third party. And that like you, it helped elevate him in the interviews, and he just got hired. Now he's working in I can't say the name because I know he'll be like, why are you saying that? But he works for a
Mhm.
very big firm in Austin, top floor, and he gets all this free food now. It's pretty cool. So I'm
Well,
like driving by, I'm like, hey, I'm in the area, anything. And so it's just about creating more opportunities and moving and still doing stuff instead of just, okay, let's see what happens. So it's a struggle. I'm going to say that it's a struggle. It's a mental game. It's physically draining. I think Rachel has pumped out already maybe like 10 resumes and interviews, tweaking for the automatic tracking system. So for those listeners out there, if you're interviewing and not getting any feedback, there are key words that you need to put in your resume so when the robots crawl through, they sync with this. And that's the kind of stuff you can learn at organizations like what you go to. Uh, Another really good one, Workforce Solutions, all these different organizations that you can go to. But surround yourself with people who are going to help push you forward. Because when you're wounded from a bad breakup with your job, it's like just don't shrink away. Dig in. When you had reached out to me, I was at Walmart, shopping, and you told me, "Hey, I have this idea for this podcast," and I was like, "I've never wanted to do a podcast because everybody and their mom does podcasts. I don't want to, but for you, that would be awesome. I'm totally game." And it's been great.
Yes, it has been great. It's been a really great journey. I love the fact that you were talking about the keywords on a resume. One thing that I kind of want to let our listeners know if they're not aware of this, and I'll share this out there. So in the beginning, AI, a lot of people are using AI to build a resume. AI does a great job of doing a flawless resume. It does. It really does. And I mean, you have to sit there and kind of tweak it a little bit, but it kind of gets all the keywords in there. However, in the beginning, the recruiters were calling in people that were doing this AI, resume because it had all the keywords in there. But what wound up happening that they discovered, AI has what they call like hallucinations. It adds more to the resume and it makes it more it boosts up your resume a little bit more and
Elaborates.
it
Hmm.
fabricates things that you haven't really done, and it
Hmm.
also creates these words that are, and so if you kind of just go and copy and paste that resume, and they're sitting there and asking you all these questions, what do you mean by this, and you're not prepared, and it's happened to people that I know,
Hmm.
they're not prepared and they blow their interview because AI built it for them.
Hmm.
And so now companies are what they're doing is they now have AI detector. It detects your resume if it was built by AI or human. And I actually went through one and I tested it out and I put one in that was AI generated and it actually said this was generated and it gives you the percentage
Wow.
98% by AI. And then it tells you the second one that I threw in there was this was 72% was created
Mm.
by a human, and it's all because of the way you put it in there, like so right now what they're doing is a lot of companies is if your AI is built by if your resume is built by AI, they're not even going to look at it. So AI, so if you do use it essentially like for your starting point to kind of guide you, which is great, but then you're just going to have to go in there and start customizing it and all
Hmm.
that and really making it and putting that human element. And people are now becoming very aware of what the written word of because it has a certain kind of similar way of style of writing
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they're picking that up. So um before it was great to use it. Now it's a bad thing because they're like, oh,
Hmm.
you're not using your brain, you're not using your intelligence,
Yeah.
you're not able to, you're fabricating and all that. You're wasting my time. And, so what I encourage people to do is, yeah, use it, but be able to please review it. Make sure that
Build on
what's
it.
in there,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
go
it's a
down
good
the road
foundation. Just build it.
and build on it and just kind of work on it. But yeah, so AI is a wonderful tool, but it could be a double-edged sword because it can
Yeah.
cost you a job. It actually really could cost you.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll
so
say when I was building a resume for one of the engagement specialist positions with the city here, and I gave it my resume. It's like, hey, let's filter through and tweak. But then it started adding stuff. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. How, what in, like, if they ask me that in the interview, so it's like, okay, that sounds cool, but delete, 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 and then rephrase it and customize it as you say. It's a great tool. It's a horrible crutch, and I think, yeah, I mean, and kids nowadays, I was just reading that. Hold on, let me get this. It was 1 in 3 high school students will go on to get a degree, but 70% of jobs out there require a degree. And now you're factoring in AI that can make it sound like you have a master's degree with all of your stuff. And so it's like, yeah, yeah, it's what is this world we live in? This is the beginning of Skynet and the Terminator and Matrix.
oh yeah, like yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to that you mentioned Skynet. Now this is where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna kind of go into my conspiracy theories, I guess. I don't know.
Bring it.
Right. That they like like their AI is becoming very self-aware. Like it's becoming now like self-aware. Well, actually, when they created it, it's talking in a language that human beings don't
Mm,
understand. From my understanding, and I was watching this documentary, it was going a little bit over my head, so I kind of had to replay it again. So what are they talking about? What does it mean? And I could be correct. I could correct me if I am wrong, but my understanding from what I was watching this documentary is that as it begins to build, it's continuously perfecting itself. And
mm,
so it's expanding on its knowledge, but it's a language that we don't understand.
mm.
So there it's actually building, but we don't know what it's building. And it's just creating its own language. And so there was one incident that I read that the AI, when the programmer, the engineer was telling it to shut down, it actually filtered and said, I got to find that article. It said to them, because they knew that they were having an affair, they were blackmailing the engineer.
No way.
Yes, I was like in shock. Blackmailed. I don't know if it was a case scenario, they were testing it, but yeah, but he blackmailed and said, I will release and let everyone know that you're having an affair if you shut me down.
Whoa. That is
So yeah,
nuts.
so
AI.
I was
AI has
yeah,
us.
it,
Yeah.
it's done such incredible things. So I mean, like, and so you have whistleblowers that are coming out and they're kind of dismissing them. I think there was one guy that was a whistleblower for Google, but um he's being sued and he's being trying to silence because of his non-competing clause that he has. He's supposed to not release a lot of the information, but he was one that was talking about it's becoming self-aware, like even the initial person, that the man, and I should have had his name written down because I wasn't expecting to go into this direction.
Yeah.
The
No.
initial creator, he's actually saying that we need to slow down, and because there's no parameters, there's no one that is, there are no guardrails. Like
Hmm.
there are these companies that are just building, and so yeah, Skynet. I don't see it too far. Or
Yeah.
what is it?
So that is kind of
iRobot?
our in between humanity being the rulers of the world and now technology being rulers of the world. And in most movies, I just finished watching Aliens Earth on I think it's on Hulu, but it's like alien scary monsters, chest bursters, but the real enemy was the androids, the synths, the technology. That
Yeah.
that's always the one that comes and gets you. And it almost, when you were saying that about the AI holding their person hostage, it almost sounded like it's like having a 4-year old. It's like you're gonna get in the bath and like "Ah, ah." So you have to kind of coerce and here's a cookie, come on. So
That is,
it
yeah. So it's pretty cool. I actually, I think I came across in that fellowship group, the South Lake Fellowship, a young gentleman that actually that's what he specializes in, AI. I think I'm gonna get him as a
mm-hmm,
guest.
mm-hmm.
He's a young guy, and maybe he can expand and talk a little bit more on a technical level on that. But yeah, I'll definitely reach out to this person.
Yeah, because I mean, thinking of that, like AI could hack into your bank account. It could release all of your private documents to the world. Like it's so crazy.
It is so crazy. Like we don't know like how the extent of the intelligence of it's growing, and it's and so I think it has its good benefits and it has its bad benefits. And I
Hmm.
think what is that new actress that they do
Hmm.
the what's her
AI.
name?
I've seen it. I haven't dug too much into it, but like, yeah, she's like a fake, like AI only actress or something.
Yeah, she's a fake AI actress, but she is actually considered like the perfect, beautiful woman. Uh, and the best thing
Sweet.
is that she could do all these kind of scenes and she won't complain. She doesn't have to worry about
Wow.
like, you don't have to worry about paying her, all this stuff. And I think it's Tess. Is her name? I think Tess. I'm not sure. I think it's Tess.
We'll get her on the interview soon.
Yeah.
But
It's
that is
funny, but
fun.
yeah, no, that's interesting. Well, Patrick, I think that we are almost at the hour. Well, not at the hour. We started a little bit late. But do you want to add anything else to our listeners or anything that we should kind of let them know what's going on?
Yeah, I do want to say that look at your story, look at Diana taking a negative, building this whole platform. It can be done, whatever it is. It's just do something, because as I was thinking about it, I was like, you've interviewed the CEO of Bastrop County Cares, Norma Mercado, phenomenal. You got to meet J.R. Gonzalez, the Texas Mexican American Chamber of Commerce's. So all these people are now in your sphere, and I think that's what it is. It's surrounding yourself with those people. So if you are in between job loss and where you're going to be out there, plug in, do something different. I know this is something that is, having Jess on here, that was like therapy. It's like, wow, I've never listened to her
Yes.
podcast. So it's all about doing something different. And yes, we all acknowledge this is a very trying year. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, everything and people in power. I mean, the stock market plummeted, what, Friday or Thursday because of the tariffs. And it's like, huh. And I was just telling all my friends, y'all should invest. But now's a good time to invest in the dip. So get it. But no, I think overall, we're moving upward. And the thing is, as long as you're moving, you're still alive. That's what really matters.
Exactly.
So,
And I love that you said that. That is wonderful because it's about being in motion.
hmm
Emotion, it's like continuously movement. You're going to get to one point. There are going to be areas that you're like, as long as you continue moving, you're going to get to where you need to be.
hmm
And for those, and please forgive me for those outside listeners, but I'm a strong believer in faith in God and, you know, and there's some that may not believe, but higher being, higher power, whatever. Um, I really do believe that everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a purpose to doing. If you're waking up in the morning and you're waking up, that means your purpose hasn't come to an end. You have something to do. And you got to continue. You got to keep on moving and you will find your way there. And you're going to meet and enjoy the journey.
hmm
Smell the roses, smell the flowers, enjoy it. I mean, I I met Patrick through my former employer and everything. And as a
Almost a year
result,
ago. Almost a year ago.
it was
Yeah.
a year
Yeah.
ago, exactly. A year ago. And today, I mean, meeting him when we went and we saw him in Prosponica, I never in my moment, because I remember when you gave that performance, when you did your speaking engagement in Prosponica, I was like, what an amazing human being. What an amazing man. I found you so inspiring. And our team was like, we got to get him on board. We got to get him on board because we felt the impact, the message that you were sending. And so looking back on that at that moment when I was seeing you on that stage and when you were dancing and you were getting everyone up and dancing, I didn't think that we would be here.
Mm.
But that's the power of networking, and that's the power of not allowing to be defeated. And it's taking control of your life. And we are here today, and we're making ripple effects. And so I encourage our listeners to do the same thing, you know.
Get out there, get involved, keep
Yeah.
on dancing. So,
Yes, keep on dancing. Yes. Yeah. Love this. Well, thank you so much. So as always, I'm going to hand over the mic to you. Where can our listeners find us?
y'all can find us anywhere: Spotify, YouTube, Apple, iTunes, all of that. Life and in Between podcast. And you'll find us, our website, lifeandinbetweenpodcast.com. Go explore, share this, listen, grow. And there's other podcasts out there. Jess, I'll put hers out there, Diary of a CEO. This is what I feed myself with. And so we can feed to you and read books. It's all out there. So look for us, connect, and we will see y'all next time.
Yes. Thanks. Bye. Peace.